Have you ever made up your mind to change, only to unconsciously return to where you started? Whether it's trying to break a bad habit or develop a good one, we always seem to be locked in a tough tug-of-war with ourselves. But what if I told you that the key isn't your willpower, but your failure to grasp the operating principles of habits? The classic book we're diving into today, The Power of Habit, reveals this principle. It tells us that habits are not stubborn forces that can't be overcome, but simple loops that can be observed, broken down, and even reshaped. This isn't just a book about personal growth. It's a profound analysis of human behavior. In the time ahead, we'll explore the essence of this book, thoroughly dissect the composition of habits, and provide you with a set of effective methods for change. Whether you want to reshape your personal life or boost team efficiency, this video will give you a transformative understanding of habits and open a door to efficiency and success. To unlock the secret of habits, we must start with a very peculiar story. The man in question is Eugene Pauly, an ordinary elderly man you've probably never heard of, but his experience has shocked neuroscientists around the world. After a severe case of viral encephalitis, Eugene lost an ability we take for granted: the ability to form new memories. His memory is forever stuck in 1960. He doesn't know who the current president is, doesn't remember that his children have grown up, and even if you talked to him just a minute ago, he'll forget you completely the next, like a protagonist in his own fragmented memories. You might think such a person would struggle to get by, right? He can't even draw a layout of his own home, because he can't remember which rooms are adjacent. But something strange happened. His wife noticed that every morning, Eugene would walk out of the house on his own, take a stroll around the neighborhood, and then walk back to his doorstep with pinpoint accuracy, opening the door to go inside. How is this possible? How can someone who can't remember where his home is navigate so precisely? He has no memory, but he has something else. Scientists studied this for a long time before discovering that there's a powerful force at work in Eugene's brain, a force we all have but rarely notice: habits. This story reveals a transformative truth. Habits don't reside in the conscious part of our brain responsible for thinking and memory. They hide in a deeper, older brain region called the basal ganglia. You can think of this area as the brain's autopilot or power-saving mode. Our brains are actually very lazy. They process massive amounts of information every day. To save energy, they package repetitive, fixed behavioral patterns into a program and hand them over to this autopilot to execute. This way, our cerebral cortex, the CEO responsible for thinking, can focus on handling more important and complex new problems. Think about it. Do you need to think when brushing your teeth in the morning? Whether to squeeze toothpaste first or grab a cup, brush the left or right side, you do it all without thinking. That's your autopilot at work. So, how is this autopilot program coded? The Power of Habit reveals the underlying code of all habits, a surprisingly simple yet incredibly powerful three-step loop, which the author calls the habit loop. The first step is called the cue. You can also think of it as a trigger or switch. It's the signal that instantly activates your autopilot mode. For example, your phone screen lighting up with a ding is a cue. Waking up in the morning and seeing the alarm clock by your bed is a cue. Or feeling a bit tired while sitting at your desk at 3 p.m. That tiredness itself is a cue. Cues are everywhere. They can be a visual signal, a sound, a specific time, an emotional state, or even a specific location. Their only role is to tell your brain, "Hey, old buddy, it's time to start that familiar program." After receiving the signal, we move to the second step, the routine. This is easy to understand. It's the specific action you take. Hearing the ding, your hand unconsciously reaches for the phone. Seeing the alarm clock, you get out of bed and head to the bathroom to brush your teeth. Feeling tired, you get up to make a cup of coffee. This step is what we usually refer to as the habit itself, it's the core action we want to change or develop. But here's the question. A cue triggers an action. So why does the brain remember this process and happily repeat it over and over? That brings us to the most crucial third step, the reward, the sweet spot your brain gets after completing the sequence. Picking up your phone and seeing a friend's like or an interesting news story gives your brain a little social satisfaction and the pleasure of gaining information. That's the reward. Feeling fresh and your teeth smooth after brushing, that's the reward. Perking up after drinking coffee, that's the reward. This reward acts as positive feedback, telling your brain, hey, that combo of cue and action worked well. It made me feel good. Next time you encounter the same cue, remember to do this again. So the brain stamps this loop with a pleasurable seal, making the habit program even stronger. Thus, cue, routine, and reward form a complete, self-reinforcing habit loop. But the story doesn't end here. There's a deeper secret. When this loop repeats enough times, a wonderful chemical reaction occurs, the birth of craving. What does that mean? It means that as soon as the cue appears, your brain is no longer just anticipating the reward. It starts to foresee the pleasure of that reward, creating an intense, almost irresistible itch. The classic example is 3 p.m. When that time rolls around, you might not be thinking rationally, coffee will wake me up, but rather feeling a strong desire. I need it. I need a cup of coffee right now. Your body might even start secreting dopamine, making you obsess over that cup of coffee you haven't even gotten yet. This craving is the powerful drive that actually pushes us to perform the routine. It makes habits automatic, causing us to slip into that familiar pattern unconsciously, again and again. That's the entire secret formula of habits. Like a ghost lurking within us, it quietly controls over 40% of our daily actions through these 4 threads: cue, routine, reward, and craving. Understanding it, seeing it clearly, is the first and most important step to reclaiming control of our lives. So, is there a specific set of martial arts moves, a blueprint, that allows ordinary people to precisely reshape their habits? Of course there is. In the next part, we'll fully master this unique blueprint that will make you the designer of your own habits. In the previous section, we figured out the 3-step pattern of habits. But many of you are probably thinking, so what? I still feel like I can't beat it. Don't worry, that's precisely because we usually use the wrong approach. The core, most transformative idea in this book about changing habits is this golden rule. Don't try to fight a habit with willpower. That's like arm wrestling an elephant, you'll almost certainly lose. Instead, keep the cue and reward of the old habit and change the routine in the middle. What does that mean? The book uses an analogy. Your bad habit is like a fixed hamburger meal you've been eating incorrectly for a long time. The packaging is the cue, and the cola that comes with the meal is the reward. The routine in the middle is that high-calorie fried chicken burger. The golden rule says you don't need to throw away the entire meal because your brain has already fallen in love with the packaging and that cola. What you need to do is quietly replace that fried chicken burger in the middle with a healthier patty. This way, your brain still recognizes the familiar packaging and still gets the cola it craves. It won't put up strong resistance, and change becomes much easier. Does that sound clever? So how to put it into practice? The author provides a very practical 4-step blueprint for habit transformation. You can apply this formula whether you want to break a habit or develop one. The first step is simple: identify your routine. In other words, you need to clearly know exactly which specific action you want to change. Don't say, I want to be more disciplined. Vague goals like that are useless. You need to make it concrete. For example, the behavior you want to change is getting up from your seat every day at 3 p.m., walking to the snack cabinet, and grabbing a cookie to eat. or the action of unconsciously biting your nails whenever you're stressed at work. First, lock in that behavior precisely. It's the target for all our subsequent analysis. The second step is to dig into the reward behind the behavior. This step is crucial and requires the utmost honesty with yourself. You need to act like a detective, figuring out what deep-seated craving your bad habit is satisfying. The author himself experimented with his own cookie-eating habit. He asked himself, "Why do I run to eat a cookie every afternoon? Is it because the cookie itself tastes good? Or to get away from my desk for a breath of fresh air? Because I'm hungry? Or just to chat with someone?" To find the answer, he conducted several experiments. On the first day, instead of eating a cookie, he walked around the office building and then came back, only to find that the desire for a cookie still lingered. On the second day, he skipped the cookie and bought an apple from the vending machine, yet the desire remained. On the third day, he didn't eat a cookie either. Instead, he went straight to a colleague's desk and chatted for 10 minutes. When he returned, he was surprised to find that the craving for a cookie had vanished. It was then that he suddenly realized what he was seeking by going for a cookie every afternoon wasn't the sugar at all, but a brief moment of social interaction and rest through the act of eating. The routine itself was just a facade. What lay beneath it was his true need. So, you also need to keep experimenting and taking notes to figure out the real reward your bad habit provides. The third step is to identify the cue that triggers you. Now that we've found the reward, we need to go back and find the trigger that pulls the string. There are many types of cues, but the book summarizes them into 5 main categories. Every time your bad habit occurs, just take out your phone or a pen and paper and answer these 5 questions, and you'll quickly spot the pattern. 1. Where are you? In the office? At home? On the sofa? In bed? 2. What time is it? 9 a.m. 3 p.m. 11 p.m. 3. How are you feeling? Bored? Anxious? Happy? Tired? 4. Who is with you? Alone? With colleagues? With family? 5. What was your last action? Just finished a meeting? Just answered a call? Just watched an episode of a TV show? Keep recording this information 3 to 5 times, and you'll be able to spot the recurring culprit from these clues, just like Sherlock Holmes. For example, the author found that the cue for his cookie-eating habit was always around 3:30 p.m. In another case from the book, a girl named Mandy, the cue for her nail biting was whenever she felt bored or nervous. By now, we've thoroughly uncovered the cue, routine, and reward of a bad habit. We have all the puzzle pieces, and now it's time for the final step. The 4th step is to create a clear plan for yourself, which is a simple if-then statement. The format goes like this. When the cue I've identified appears, I will immediately perform a new routine that provides the same reward. Let's see how the author did it. His plan was, when 3:30 p.m. comes, I will immediately get up from my seat and chat with a colleague for 10 minutes. Notice that he kept the 3:30 p.m. cue and gained the social interaction he truly wanted through the new routine of chatting. He just replaced the cookie eating in the middle. This 4-step blueprint is like a universal toolbox. It tells us that change isn't a brutal battle of willpower, but a clever technical task. It requires us to consciously observe, experiment, and record, and ultimately, like a precise engineer, design a new, healthier behavioral program for ourselves. But this raises a more interesting question. We have so many habits. Do we really need to change them one by one? Could there be a super habit that, once changed, causes other good habits to fall into place automatically, like the first domino in a chain? The author calls this magical habit a keystone habit. In the next section, we'll reveal how to find and use it to trigger a chain reaction in our lives. In this section, we'll explore the keystone habit that could completely transform your life. A keystone habit, by definition, is a habit with an inherent royal quality. It has a powerful radiating effect and driving force. Once you successfully develop a keystone habit, it acts like a catalyst, triggering a chain reaction that reshapes all aspects of your life. What's more, this often happens automatically, without you having to make a deliberate effort. Does that sound a bit unbelievable? Let's look at a real, incredible business legend. The protagonist is Alcoa, short for Aluminum Company of America. In the 1980s, it was an old manufacturing enterprise with mediocre performance, tense labor relations, and frequent accidents. To turn things around, the board hired a new CEO named Paul O'Neill. Investors on Wall Street pricked up their ears, waiting to hear the new leader's first 3 fires, what exciting profit growth plans he would announce. But at his first investor meeting, O'Neill stepped up to the podium and said something that made everyone in the room think they'd misheard. He didn't talk about profits, markets, or even costs. He said, "My only goal after taking office is to make Alcoa the safest company in America. My target is 0 workplace injuries." You can imagine the scene. Investors in the audience exploded. Many rushed out to call their clients, telling them to sell Alcoa stock immediately, thinking the company had hired a lunatic, a hippie who didn't know his job. How could a company that deals with scalding metal all day achieve 0 injuries? More importantly, what did that have to do with making money? But what happened next shocked everyone. O'Neill clung tightly to the issue of safety, making it the company's sole creed. He set a rule: any workplace accident must be reported directly to him by the branch president within 24 hours, along with a complete plan to prevent such accidents from happening again. This rule was like a stone thrown into a calm lake, instantly causing ripples. Think about it. To meet the 24-hour reporting deadline, the company's information transmission system had to be completely overhauled. Bureaucracy was broken down, and communication efficiency soared. To come up with a rectification plan, various departments had to work together to analyze the cause of the accident. Was it due to improper operation by workers, aging equipment, or faulty raw materials? As a result, production processes were reviewed and optimized repeatedly. Managers who performed poorly and neglected safety were quickly replaced because they held the company back, while ordinary workers who proposed excellent improvement suggestions were rapidly promoted. A miracle happened. When everyone works toward the common goal of safety, they inadvertently perfected every link in production. Product quality improved, production efficiency rose, and costs naturally fell. During O'Neill's tenure, Alcoa's annual revenue increased 5-fold, its stock price rose by over 200%, and it became one of the best-performing stocks in the Dow Jones Industrial Average. And it all started with that keystone habit, which seemed unrelated to making money, the relentless pursuit of absolute safety. This is the magic of keystone habits. They are like a lever. Find the crucial fulcrum, and with a gentle push, you can move the entire world. This principle applies equally to us as individuals. The book mentions several common keystone habits in our lives. The first is exercise. Studies have found that people who start exercising regularly experience wonderful changes in their lives. They unconsciously start eating healthier because they don't want to waste the sweat they just shed on the treadmill. They sleep better, work more efficiently, are more patient with colleagues and family, and even use their credit cards less and spend more rationally. None of this is demanded by their fitness coach. It's the keystone habit of exercise that changes their self-perception, making them see themselves as disciplined, healthy people, which in turn triggers other positive behaviors. The second is keeping a food diary or a budget. It sounds trivial, right? But when someone starts meticulously recording what they eat or how much they spend every day, they enter a mode of self-examination. This self-awareness gives them a clearer understanding of their life, making it easier to identify problems and make changes. Another one that many might not expect is having dinner with family. Studies show that children who often eat with their families do better in school, are better at managing their emotions, and are more confident. Regular family dinners subtly cultivate their communication skills, sense of responsibility, like helping clear the table, and sense of belonging to the family. So, friends, now you can pause and think. For you personally, what is the keystone habit in your life? Is it getting up an hour early every day without fail? Sticking to reading 10 pages of a book? Spending 5 minutes meditating every night? Or keeping your home spotlessly clean? These seemingly insignificant actions could be the first domino that triggers huge changes in your life. Find it, then focus the 4-step blueprint we learned in the previous section on developing this one keystone habit. Once it's established, you'll be pleasantly surprised to find that your life is entering a new, automatic positive cycle. Of course, this brings up another big challenge. Even if we find the keystone habit and make a perfect plan, why do so many people give up in the first week? We always seem to lack something called willpower. So, what exactly is willpower? Is it something you're born with? How can we harness it? Don't worry, we'll completely unveil the mystery of willpower in the next section. We've just found the keystone habit that can move our lives and made a perfect transformation plan, feeling like we're about to be reborn. But reality is often, day 1, we're full of enthusiasm, day 2, we're in high spirits, day 3, we grit our teeth and persist, day 4, we think, maybe I'll start tomorrow, and then it's all over. We often attribute this failure to a vague reason: I have weak willpower. The education we received from childhood tells us that willpower is a virtue, a standard feature of successful people, and a noble character. People with strong willpower are like the top experts in martial arts novels, with profound internal strength, able to resist all inner demons. While ordinary people with insufficient internal strength are defeated by various temptations. But the book The Power of Habit gives us a subversive and even relieving answer. Willpower is not a character at all. It is more like a muscle. You heard it right, just like the biceps in our arms. What are the characteristics of muscles? First, they get tired when used. Second, with continuous and scientific exercise, they become stronger. The muscle of willpower is exactly the same. To prove this, scientists conducted a classic and somewhat torturous experiment. They recruited a group of hungry college students and divided them into 3 groups. The first group was the lucky group. When they entered the room, there were freshly baked, fragrant chocolate cookies and some candies on the table, and the experimenters told them to eat as they liked. The second group was the torture group. They entered the same room and saw the same tempting cookies and candies, but there was also a bowl of ordinary raw radishes next to them. The experimenters said to them, "Sorry, the cookies are for others, you can only eat radishes." You can imagine how much of a test of willpower it is to chew a tasteless raw radish while smelling the cookies. The third group was the control group, and they didn't have to do anything. After the torture, all 3 groups of students were taken to do a seemingly unrelated task, solving a very difficult geometry problem. This problem was actually unsolvable. The scientists just wanted to see how long they could persist before giving up. The result was a shocking scene. The students in the lucky group persisted for an average of 21 minutes, and the students in the control group also persisted for an average of about 20 minutes. However, the torture group, who had just resisted the temptation of cookies with willpower, only persisted for an average of 8 minutes. This experiment convincingly proves that willpower is like a mobile phone battery. Its power is limited. When you use willpower to resist temptation or force yourself to do something you don't like, your power is being consumed. When the students in the torture group used up a lot of their willpower on not looking at the cookies, not thinking about the cookies and forcing themselves to eat radishes, the power in their brains for persisting in solving the problem was almost exhausted. So they surrendered so quickly. This discovery is simply good news for us ordinary people, because it tells us that many times when you give up halfway, it's really not because your character is bad or you're inherently worse than others. It's probably just that you exhausted your precious willpower at the wrong time. For example, if you spent a day dealing with difficult customers at the company, forcing yourself to stay smiling and patient with willpower, your willpower battery has been drained to only 10%. At this time, when you get home and see the sofa and snacks, can you expect to use this remaining 10% of power to put on your running shoes and go for a night run? It's almost an impossible task. So now that we know this principle, what should we do? There are two answers, just like dealing with muscles. First, exercise it. Second, use it wisely. How to exercise it? It's by developing some small habits that require self-control to gradually enhance the endurance and total power of your willpower muscle. For example, you can set a rule for yourself to go to bed and get up at fixed times every day, or stick to a simple diet plan, such as giving up sugary drinks. These small, continuous self-controls are like doing a few sets of dumbbell curls in the gym every day. Over time, your willpower muscle will become stronger and able to cope with greater challenges. But more importantly, the second point is how to use or save your willpower wisely. The best way is to turn those predictable, willpower-consuming challenges into a habit in advance. Because as we said before, once a behavior becomes a habit, it is handled by the autopilot and consumes almost no willpower. Starbucks is the best at this. Starbucks once had a problem. Baristas had to face hundreds of customers every day under great pressure. Occasionally, when encountering unreasonable customers who shouted, many would lose control of their emotions, argue with customers, or even break down and cry, which greatly affected the customer experience. Starbucks management realized that you can't expect employees to mobilize strong willpower to stay calm and smile in such a high-pressure environment. So they designed a famous service process called the latte method. It's a pre-written habit program. It stipulates that any employee, once encountering the queue of a customer's complaint, must immediately start this routine. First, listen to the customer's problem. Second, acknowledge the customer's feelings. Third, take action to solve the problem, such as remaking a cup or refunding. Fourth, thank the customer. Fifth, explain why the problem occurred. You see, Starbucks turned the most willpower-consuming crisis handling into a habit loop that can be followed without thinking. Employees no longer need to struggle with what should I do? Should I get angry? They just need to follow the procedure. This method greatly saves employees' willpower, allowing them to better focus on making coffee, and also makes Starbucks service quality surprisingly consistent worldwide. So the truth about willpower is not to tough it out, but to outsmart it. Exercise it through daily small self-disciplines, and save it by establishing emergency response-like habits, so that it can be used on the most critical points, which is the starter for us to develop new habits. Up to this point, we have basically mastered all the methods to outwit ourselves. But are our habits really only determined by ourselves? Is it possible that our daily behaviors are being quietly and carefully designed by some invisible forces, such as the supermarkets we often visit and the mobile apps we often use? In the next part, we will turn our perspective to the outside and see how the power of habits is used to the extreme in the business world. In the previous parts, we talked about how to outwit ourselves, how to observe, transform, and manage our own habits. But have you ever thought that the world we live in is not a neutral battlefield? While we are trying to improve ourselves, countless eyes and top business minds are working day and night to study how to design the habits they want for us. Let's start with a classic and even chilling story in the book. How did Target, the American supermarket, know that a high school girl was pregnant earlier than her father? The answer is data. They analyzed the changes in the girl's shopping list, from buying ordinary lotion to buying unscented lotion, and then to supplementing nutrients such as calcium, magnesium, and zinc. These behaviors constituted a strong cue of pregnancy. So the system automatically began to send her coupons for maternal and infant products, trying to cultivate shopping at Target as an unbreakable new habit at this critical turning point in her life. This story happened before the popularity of smart devices. Today, what each of us carries in our pockets is a habit detector that is 10,000 times more powerful than Target's database and tracks us 24 hours a day. Every click, every stay, and every swipe in the internet world is accurately recorded and analyzed. Moreover, merchants are no longer satisfied with predicting your habits. They are now engineering your habits in real time and dynamically. How do they do it? One of the core principles is to wrap novelty in familiar clothes. For example, the popular blind box economy nowadays. Think about it. A small doll whose contents you don't know at all is completely novel and unknown. Why do people get addicted to buying them? Because it wraps this novelty in a habit loop that humans have been familiar with since ancient times: the pleasure of hunting and gathering. The expectation and accelerated heartbeat before opening the box are the tension during hunting, cue, and craving. The action of opening the package is the behavior of gathering a routine. And after opening, whether you get the desired hidden item or just the satisfaction of obtaining a new object, it's a strong reward. Merchants have turned a simple plastic toy into a miniature, ritualistic hunting adventure, making you unconsciously crave this surprise of unboxing. The second and more powerful principle mastered by merchants is to use ourselves to train an exclusive algorithm that knows you best. The most typical example of this is short video platforms. Have you ever felt that the short videos you swiped seem to know what you like better than your mother? You just watched a cooking video, and the next one recommended is a food exploration video. You just liked a cute cat video, and your screen becomes an online cat cafe for the next half hour. Behind this is an extreme real-time habit loop algorithm. Pushing a video to you is the cue. Your subconscious choice to swipe away or stay for more than 3 seconds is your routine, and the pleasure you feel after watching the video or the little knowledge you learn is your reward.